the stories that they tell, like, oh my God, the divine it was always there. I just was unaware of it. Or I met my future self, and my future self does not have colon cancer. I'm telling you, I know it.
Hello and welcome to the Pacific Channel. I'm your host, Steve Doherty. In this audio clip, Danica Patrick is interviewing Dr. Joe Dispenza, and they talk about the differences between 3D and 5D reality. Dr. Joe is going to talk about how 3D is linear, but 5D is all about the now, all possibilities, and everything is in the present moment. He's also going to talk about how we fell from singularity down into density, and we had to forget who we really are. So what he is saying is that we all were in the non-physical realm before we came to Earth, and that we had to forget who we are, right? My understanding as to what happens is that if we knew all of our past lives and had all of that information to deal with, it would be way too overwhelming for us to assimilate. Next, they start to talk about reality and how life isn't real. I think a better way to say it is that from our source energy perspective, from our eternal, unlimited, all-knowing perspective, from our inner being, higher self, or source perspective, death isn't real, limitation isn't real, worry, strife, and jealousy aren't real, and illness isn't real. In other words, we create the unreal stuff, and from the perspective of source, none of that bad stuff is real. But from our human perspective, it's real, all right. It's very real. It's just a matter of which paradigm you choose to view it from. A new way to say this that is popular nowadays is that we are living in a simulation, right? You've probably heard that before. I think that from the quantum field of potential and possibility, you can argue that we are living in a simulation. So much of our experience in life is not based on who we really are. It's based on limited constructs that society has structured around us. Dr. Joe is going to say that this reality couldn't exist without the other one. That's totally true. If there wasn't a large part of us already in the non-physical realm, we would not be here, and we wouldn't have these hidden abilities to heal ourselves and others if that larger source energy part of us didn't exist. Next, Dr. Joe is going to talk about how what he loves on his own journey is the mystical. The mystical being the unknown and the process of self-discovery that goes along with it. And he'll talk about how every time that he has a mystical experience, he wants to take a piece of that back with him. Let's listen to them discuss all of this now.
I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's begin.
I was getting all the answers every time I asked, and it was like rapid fire. And I popped up after like 2 hours, and I'm like, I just can't hold the frequency. It's too much information. And that's when I said being human is a pause from all the information. I can't hold that frequency. And that's what made me realize that's why we have to grow and raise our consciousness level slowly, because it's too much information. Otherwise, it's too overloading. You would short circuit. You just shut down. I can't do this anymore. But there's because there's everything, which is essentially back to the 5D is that, and I go like that because of how you described it, like 3D is, A to B. Linear. 5D is
all now.
Is vertical. All now moments.
All now. All possibilities exist.
Everything in that space.
In the present moment.
Every answer I wanted.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think you're absolutely correct about that. I mean, to fall from singularity down into density, you had to forget that you were oneness. You have to forget.
It also reminded me of that. I was like, that's why we forget too, because otherwise you couldn't participate in this reality if you knew this wasn't real.
Right. And we really think that this is real.
We really do.
And it's actually this reality couldn't exist without the other one. Right. So have you ever had
an experience like that? I speaking? Can you?
So, I mean, my whole thing, what I love, on my own journey is really the mystical. I mean, the mystical being the unknown, of course. Yeah. And that process of self-discovery, when you truly hit that fertile void, that beautiful place where of singularity, where your consciousness is actually merged with the greater consciousness. There's no separation.
Right.
The thought of what you're thinking about actually gives you the exact experience or the information, because it's all information there. A whole portal of possibilities open. My hope is that when I come back to three-dimensional reality, that I take a piece of that with me, because every mystical experience that I've ever had, I've always come back and said, Joe Dispenza, you got this all wrong, dude. You got it all wrong. It's not the way it is. It's not that way. And so some veil, some conditioning, some illusion is removed, and all of a sudden I see things how they really are. And it's not the way I have been conditioned or programmed. And so that process should be integrated into our nervous system, because if it happens too randomly or too quickly, we can't function in our three-dimensional world. And we got to be able to function, right? We got to keep one foot in the real world and one foot in the quantum world. Otherwise, you wind up with a psychosis and you can't function, right? So it's healthy for us to interact at the level of our ability to be able to process it. And every now and then you have a big one, and it's more than you can take. I've had those too. But for me personally, I want to
hear about that. That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about it in a story and experience.
Well, I never really want to make it be about me, but there are plenty of people that have really profound moments. I'm looking, I'm very empirical when it comes to stuff like this. And, when you see someone's brain scan go off the chart, I mean, off the chart, and they could be vegan, they could be gluten-free, they could eat meat, doesn't matter. Like we asked all the questions. But when you see the person's brain light up like that, not a little bit, I mean, the mathematical probability of some of these brainwave states, according to the research, is, they say, statistically impossible to occur. And if it does occur, it would be a random event that would last for a millisecond. And you see this sustained state in the brain. And it's hundreds and hundreds of standard deviations outside of normal. 3 standard deviations outside of normal is 2% of the population, and that's really good. Now you're talking hundreds past that point. This person is having a very transcendental moment. The stories that they tell, like, oh my God, the divine was always there. I just was unaware of it. Or I met my future self, and my future self does not have colon cancer. I'm telling you, I know it. And when you look at a brain scan like that, you think this person's having some inner event that they can't make their brain do that. It's kind of happening to them. So somehow, and this has happened to me, they're the observer. They're experiencing whatever it's experiencing. They're outside of time, experiencing, looking at themselves, having it. And they're in their future at the same time, at that person realizing, I'm healed from this colon cancer. And all of it's happening simultaneously. You cannot go back to business as usual and live your life in the same mediocre way. It's just impossible. You know too much. So the seduction or the interest then becomes not about experiencing anything in this 3D world. Now, do I think I love my 3D world? I love to eat. I
chose to come back. I was like, I want to come back. At one point, there was a choice to not come back. And I was like, no, I want to be human.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I love it. I love the journey of all of that. I just think that there's more to reality than we perceive. And I think it's an instinct in our mind. Yeah. It's an intuition in our heart that never seems to go away. And I think it's that feeling that brings people to really that process of discovery. They may not be able to explain it or put it into words, but they feel it, and they felt it their entire lives. And what that feeling is that this cannot be the end. It just can't be. So what do I find so promising is that I said to my scientific team the other day, I said, I can't believe this is the truth. I really cannot believe this is the truth. I mean, what was once considered pseudoscience, we now have data. One of our top scientists did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and his last line, this is a very well-published guy, 175 papers. His last line is, "You are what you think." That was his last line. I looked at him and I thought, who is this, Buddha on the stage? Like, I cannot believe.
So when you say, I can't believe this is true, what's the thing that you can't believe?
The body and the nervous system is manufacturing an endogenous group of pharmaceuticals in the body, innately in the body, that works way better than any drug. Like,
well, it's always mimicking us, right? Isn't that the sort of the thing, is that drugs usually mimic something in nature or something within us?
Right. But what the data says is like, okay, you do a drug study, it's about 18 to 25% causality, cause and effect. Well, that's not bad. Our data is 75% cause and effect. It works 4 times better than any drug. And yet it's within us. And I keep saying to the scientists, where are all those chemicals coming from? The person's not taking anything. They're sitting there with their eyes closed. It's the frequency when there's a coherent brain and a coherent heart. The nervous system can actually tune and read that frequency. And what is it reading? It's reading information. So energy is informing matter. And what we're capturing in the blood, in the cell, in the gene, in the brain is somehow information that is a result of their interaction with frequency and energy. And
so it's outside of us. You're saying it's in the field.
Well, I couldn't say it's outside of us. I'd say it's within us and all around us. Where somehow there's a connection or an awareness that happens. And so, what do I think is occurring that's so beautiful right now? And I'm a pretty optimistic person. The last 2 years, I keep asking myself, when is all of this going to end? Is there an end in sight when I look at the world? And I've been so kind of like, oh God, how are we going to get through this? And I think the veil is really thinning now. Like, I really believe the veil between worlds is thinning, and I am so optimistic. After our last event in Niagara Falls, people were walking up to the stage that came with crutches and canes, and were just dropping them on the stage. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They were transformed profoundly. I'm like, wow, I have hope again. I have hope that we don't need anybody or anything any longer to find happiness or love. Those people were making themselves happy. They were making themselves better. That no one else was doing that. They were doing it on their own. What a powerful, empowering opportunity for people. And it's the 4-minute mile. It's the 4-minute mile. A physician stood on the stage with really severe, she's a surgeon. She couldn't do surgery anymore because she had such severe carpal tunnel. Had the surgery, nothing was helping. One moment in one walking meditation, completely gone. She told the story on the stage. By the end of the event, someone else, health and wellness starts to become as infectious as disease. Why? Because it's in the field, it's in consciousness, and you're witnessing the evidence in 3-dimensional reality. That's so powerful.
We would love to give back to our Pacific family for all the love and support they have given us. We are offering 2 lucky winners a ticket to Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long retreat in Sunshine Coast, Australia, worth $2,300 each. To enter the giveaway, you must be a subscriber to our channel Pacific. Like this video, comment how our channel has helped you. Share this video with any 5 people. And stay tuned on our channel as we will declare the winner soon. Please refer to the description below for more info. Good luck.
So Dr. Joe talked about how whenever he gets into a mystical experience, it's like the veil of his 3D understanding is lifted. The truth is not the way that he has been conditioned or programmed. I think that happens to all of us who are going through this journey of spiritual self-discovery. What you thought was impossible before is now possible. And the more that we see ourselves and others improve their health, wealth, and relationships, the deeper our belief and knowing becomes. And when we see others doing it, we have more belief that we can do it too. The key is to keep the momentum going. Keep on believing more in your future than you do in your current reality. Next, Dr. Joe said that then the challenge is to keep one foot in the 3D world and the other one in the quantum world or the 5D world, because we still have to function in the 3D world. That can become a problem for some of us, especially in the beginning when we first start to learn that life is supposed to be easier and fun. The key is to be balanced in this journey and to give yourself time to find your balance and to be okay with transitioning slowly. The other thing Dr. Joe talks about is how people who are doing this work at the 7-day workshops are having off-the-charts brain scans that are technically impossible. These people are saying things like, the divine was always there, but I just wasn't aware of it, or I met my future self and my future self doesn't have colon cancer. You may be wondering how people are having these mystical experiences from the meditations that Dr. Joe leads. He believes that it's the process of going from focusing on something specific, like one of the 7 or 8 energy centers in your body, to then broadly focusing on the space in the quantum field or the space outside of your body. So it's about resting your consciousness in the quantum field and allowing that energy to come into your body. But he also has people pull energy from the past out of the body and into the mind, into the brain. Personally, my favorite meditation by Dr. Joe is the third one of the Blessings of the Energy Centers. Nearly every single time that I listen to it, I get goosebumps and can feel energy flowing all through my body. But my understanding is that when energy moves like that, what is really happening is that you are experiencing the sudden rush of what happens when you let all resistance go. And when you try it again later, because you've raised your frequency, the sensation may be less intense. Dr. Joe goes on to talk about a well-known scientist who said that you are what you think. So more and more people in the scientific community are becoming aware of who they really are and the power that we have to create our reality. It's amazing too that these meditation methods are about 4 times more effective than drugs, according to Dr. Joe. The veil between worlds is thinning. People are making themselves better, and no one is doing it for them. And that's exactly what you can do too. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Additionally, if you want to be eligible to win a free ticket to one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long courses, please share this video with 5 of your friends. In addition, we are going to have our first free Law of Attraction and EFT healing session on Saturday, January 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. For registration, please provide your email to the one shown in the description below. We will give you a questionnaire that includes questions about what you hope to gain from the session, what you hope to heal, and a few other topics. I hope you can make it, and I sincerely hope it will help you. Also, if you have any questions, please ask them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.